All right. Hello, you guys. It is Tiffany Castleberry with Unchained Life. And so today, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I know that's shocking. That is absolutely surprising and brand new information to anybody that has ever listened to any of my podcasts. But then I checked an email and I had a phone call and I got kind of excited. And then and then I worked and then I got less excited. And then I came home and, uh, and then it came back. And so I got excited again because I have, been asked to do a new speaking engagement, which always makes me excited and happy. Um, with the focus being on helping some uh, veterans, first responders, and the that grouping of individuals because everybody's taken a new approach to mental health and trying to make sure that they're helping people. And I have been doing my best to try to help where I can, listening, talking, sharing my story, sharing my book, all those things. And sometimes I get discouraged because I feel like I'm not doing enough or I'm not able to do enough or I feel like I'm lost or stuck or there's always so many things. And so every time I get a new speaking engagement, I get really excited all over again. And I'm like, oh yes, here we go. Okay, let's do this, let's do that. Yay, here we are, kind of thing. And so today I'm kind of like, oh yay, okay, here we are. And yes, I'm a dork. Okay, you guys, I own who I am. I've never claimed to be the coolest person. I've never claimed to have it all together because I don't think anybody does. And I think if they tell you they do, that they're lying. But that's just my opinion. So I'm getting on here and I feel like I have something in my eye. So if I keep messing with my eye, please ignore me. But I'm getting on here to have a discussion about one topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about, although a lot of people are talking about it. Isn't that a conundrum? And it's different for everybody. So here's another reason I want to talk about it because I've had people reaching out to me over the last few weeks about their struggles and about not feeling worthy, not feeling like they are loved or appreciated, liked, or anything along those lines by the other sex and or the sex that they're interested in, however you want to say it. And it always frustrates me, I guess is one way to say it, and it always concerns me that I don't okay, best way to say this. I'm not the cuddliest person, okay? I'm not. And I don't know if it's a mixture of how I was raised, being a Gen Xer, or being in the military. I'm sure it plays into all of it. It also plays into my past trauma, and I don't feel like I'm good and sweet and cuddly and stuff. I think partly because of what I've been through. Nonetheless, I am who I am, and I'm not for everybody. And I say that intentionally, and I say it often because some people do need soft and cuddly. Some people do need a lot of reassurance, and I'm not good. I'm I can do those things, but I am not I wouldn't say I'm good at those things. I tell people that work for me all the time, I'm aware that I'm not a great cheerleader. I'm aware that I'm not real great at always saying that I appreciate them, but I do. And when I do think about it, I'm real good at, I'll shoot them a text or, like if we're not together or whatever, or I'll tell them and say, I really appreciate all of your hard work. You're absolutely doing amazing. Please don't think that because I don't say this consistently that it's not true. And it's the same for when I coach people, when I talk to people, when I do speaking engagements, when I do my podcasts. I'm just not always soft and cuddly. Okay. Now, I say that, and I have my own times where I need somebody to be a little bit soft and cuddly with me. Excuse me. So I understand those needs. I'm just not great at doing it often with people. Now, there's some people like my inner circle that probably get tired of me telling them I love them, but I've had a lot of death in my life. So when you lose people that are extremely close to you, that you really care about, the ones that are left behind, you tend to hold on to a little bit tighter and make extra effort to be able to do that, right? So it just depends on the situation. Now, I say all that because depending on the situation, depending on the person that I'm working with, depending on their personality, depends on how I can be sometimes, in the sense that I can understand if somebody's a little bit more sensitive, and I need to be aware of that. I need to appreciate who they are, where they are, and I need to address it that way. However, there are other people that sometimes they really enjoy playing the victim, and a lot of their woe is me is for attention. And those people typically get the more direct militant side of me, because if I encourage them, they continue the same way. And not just with me, but with everybody in their life. And then the problem is like many of us were taught that story, the wolf, right? I don't want anyone to ever get to a point to where they've played that card a lot, and then it comes to a point to where they're serious, but people don't take them seriously because they played the woe is me way too often, and we lose those people. Okay? So please understand, sometimes I can be very direct, and some people think that I can be harsh, but you can't always whine or play the victim card or do the woe is me, or oh, I feel so bad, oh, nobody loves me. You can't do that so often, to the point to where if you get to that stage or that level and you actually are reaching out for help, and you mean it this time, you've decided, you've got a plan, this is what's going to happen, and no one takes you seriously, we lose you. Nobody needs that. Nobody wants that. And I have a friend that he tells his story to a lot of veterans, to a lot of athletes, because he was a basketball player at West Point. He was amazing. And I'm lucky that that's actually how I met him. He was at what was it? An armed forces basketball thing. But it was all the countries. So it was when I was stationed in Belgium, and it was all the NATO countries. And so the USA came over, and he was the point guard, and he was absolutely freaking amazing. And I loved watching him. And so we became friends over 20 years ago from that. That's how we met. But now we're both kind of on the same mission of, we're both veterans. We both had our own struggles. We both contemplated suicide, and now we're both dedicated to helping people to the best of our ability. And, we do it differently. Some people would probably prefer to listen to him versus me. Some people would prefer to listen to somebody that's soft and cuddly and sweet and all that crap. It's not crap. It's just not me, you guys. It's just not me. So I say all that because here's the deal. We all have times in our lives that are extremely difficult, okay? We have times where we want to quit for whatever reason. We want to quit life, we want to quit work, we want to quit a relationship, we want to quit whatever we want to quit because it hurts too much. It's too burdensome. We don't want to be a burden to someone. We don't want to lean. Some of us are really bad at leaning on people. See, there's two spectrums, you guys. There's people like me, okay? And because I know this is my fault. I am not good at leaning on other people. because the moment that I ask for help is usually the time they are not able to give it. And my thought process is, if I finally had to convince myself to ask for help and you can't help me, there's no sense in me asking for help. So I'm not asking for help. So I'll just deal with it all myself and figure it out and whatever, right? So there's that spectrum, which I have tried to be better about, but I'm still bad about it. I admit that. And then there's the other spectrum, like I was talking about earlier, the woe is me, always crying out, always wanting attention, always playing the help card. And don't get me wrong, there's issues with both sides of the, far right, far left continuum. We have to figure out that balance, right? There are people that need that reassurance. They need that attention. They need that. And we have to figure out a way to get it for them to an appropriate point, but not to the point to where we encourage them to continue with the same behavior, because they will never get better, or they will get to a point to where everybody's tired of listening to it because nobody thinks that you actually need help. And then when you do, you actually go through with it and nobody's there to stop you. And we don't want to get to that point for anyone. And then you've got the other side, more like me, that when we finally ask for help, we realize that we can't ask for help anyway because nobody really wants to help or they're not able to. And so we just go back to internalizing everything. And so when it does happen, when we do make that mistake and we get to that level to where we're just like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not asking for help. I'm not going to reach out to anybody. And the choice is made and they're gone. So both spectrums are very difficult to balance. So the best thing that most of us can do that are trying to help in the best capacity that we know how is being 100% honest and providing the tools and resources that we've had to use or been able to use, to be able to get past where we were. Okay. So I can tell you for me that when my dad, and I've said this before, so there's a 3-day span in 2000, and actually we're living in it right now. Today is the first day of the next 3 days. In 2010, so 14 years ago today, just realized that. 14 years ago, so I have two massive events. My greatest fear, my husband decides that he is going to listen to his parents who told him that he was going to divorce me, and he's going to divorce me. Notice at no point I said that my husband wanted to divorce me. I'm sure he did. But when somebody calls and says, hey, my parents said that I'm going to divorce you, and so we're getting a divorce, that's not exactly how it stays in your mind that your husband's the one that wanted it. Nonetheless, that's neither here nor there. And my dad died unknowingly, out of the blue, of a massive heart attack. 3 days. Okay. So to say that my world was shattered is an understatement. I don't know how else to describe it because I don't know the words that could put enough emphasis on me being completely gutted, shattered to pieces. I mean, I was as comatose and non-existent in an alive walking around body as humanly possible. That may be the best way I can describe it. There's a picture of me that I think my aunt took, because they all came to the house after my dad passed. I'm literally sitting in the living room floor. My Mastiff, who was nearly 200 pounds, was laying across my lap. And I mean, you can just see the blank stare on my face. There was nothing. There was no emotion. There was no life inside of me. And that by far is, of all the things that I've gone through, the worst ever, because my dad was my everything. And I knew that whenever he passed, it was absolutely going to devastate me. I didn't anticipate, of course, having to deal with losing my father and my husband up and leaving at the same time with no remorse, absolutely none. Wouldn't even come to the funeral to pay respects to my father who loved him. Wasn't even about me at that point. Just the absolute full on disrespect. I'm gonna try to calm down for a minute because that always sets me off. The absolute disrespect that he had for my father. Anyway, worst time of my life. And I wanted to die. I begged. I begged God. I begged people that I thought would help me. I offered money. And we're not talking like $500. We're talking all of the inheritance that I got from my father. I wanted to die. I wanted the pain to end because it was endless as far as I was concerned during that time. It was physical pain, not just I'm sad and crying. It was a physical pain in my body that I just could not get past. And I'm also not good at reaching out and asking for help. So the worst time in my life, and I'm going through all of it by myself, all of it. I had nobody with me except for my English Mastiff. I had my English Mastiff, and she did the best that she possibly could to keep me company and love on me and just lay in the middle of the floor and let me hold her while I screamed and cried. That was what I had. And I can remember many nights that I would drink and drink and drink. I'd put, and we're not talking like the little, like, we're not talking about like the little skinny wine bottles. We're talking like the big wine bottles. I would put 2 of those away in a night intentionally because I wanted it to do something negative. I begged God, please do not let me wake up. I did that for well over a year. Um, I understand. I truly, truly understand the pain that you want to go away. I truly understand wanting to just have everything gone and be done. And I understand feeling like you're in such a dark tunnel that it's never going to get better. I could not see the light at the end of that tunnel for probably at least, I would say, a year, 18 months, until I even had a sliver of hope. That's how I feel. Like it was brutal. And on top of that, I was still active duty military and trying to do my job every day as a shell of a person. Like, I mean, there were days throughout that period of time where my commander would look at me and she would be like, "You need to go home. You can serve no purpose here." Because she could just see it on my face. I'd be, walking up and down the hallway and I'd, go and talk to my NCOs and I'd go and talk to my team and I'd walk out and she's like, "Oh, well, how would that go?" I have no idea what I talked about. No idea what I said. Hopefully it was good. Hopefully it was, positive, encouraging, or getting them to do their job. I have no idea what I said though. And she was like, "You need to go home. Take the rest of the day." And there was quite a few days that she had done that. I appreciated the understanding. But the other side of it is being at home alone, I didn't want to live. So I had ample time to fix myself and figure out how to make that happen. Clearly, I'm still here. It did not. Um, I would say one of the wake up calls during that 18 months was when one of the civilians that worked for me I'd had a conversation with him that morning. Had a great conversation actually. And he went to lunch. He said bye. I said, "See you after lunch." We had plans for something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but we had plans. And he didn't come back from lunch. And I went and asked his civilian counterpart, "Hey, did Cujo come back? Like, has Cujo been back? I haven't seen him. We were supposed to go and do X, Y, and Z." And he was like, John was like, "No." said, okay. Tried to call, no answer. Come to find out, he had gone home. He had been, if I remember correctly, I want to say he'd been sober for quite a while, because of some stuff that was going on. And he had a 9-year-old son. And he drank himself into oblivion and shot himself. And that was a wake up call to me, because I saw and felt the remnants of that action. And the thing that the thing that's difficult is that we are in so much pain. We can't fathom the repercussions of making that choice, because all we can think of is how much we want the pain to stop. I just wanted the pain to end. I was never gonna stop missing my dad, because I still miss him more than anything, and this weekend's gonna be very difficult. But I knew I would get to a point to where the pain would subside, and I wouldn't feel like my heart was literally just ripping. And when Cujo did that, all I could think was of our Air Force family that now was all reeling. And then, even more so, all I could think about was his 9-year-old son. Because that's not the first time I've known somebody that committed suicide. That just happened during the time that I was considering it. I would say the first. The first? It wasn't the first. One of the first. How sad is that? One of the first times that I felt what someone else taking that step felt like. I don't know if I've ever said this, but I grew up in professional wrestling and actually worked behind the scenes as a young kid. Started when I was 8 years old. It was really cool. I was an only child, so I felt like I had a whole lot of older brothers that were always going to take care of me. And I when Carrie Von Erich committed suicide, I locked myself in my bedroom for 2 days. I did not deal with that well, because I knew him. I mean, not like we were best friends or anything, but like we worked multiple shows. He had me call him Uncle Carrie. Like it was, I knew him, but I was a kid. So it was like, I mean, I'm stressing we weren't like best friends. It's not like we were, hanging out and, running around town. I was like 10 years old when he ended up committing suicide, I think. No, I was really older than that. I was probably 12, but that was my first introduction to what it felt like being still here when somebody did that. And when Cujo did it, it was different because I was an adult. It was different because I was considering it, and I was getting to see the effect around all the ripples it's so hard to see, because you can't, it's so hard to see past your own pain. And my pain, it felt debilitating. I was trying to mourn two things. I was trying to mourn the actual death of my dad, who was my everything, and I was trying to mourn what was going to be the death of my marriage. At the same time that I expected that person, my husband, to be with me and support me and help me in some kind of way when my dad died. And he didn't. He full on abandoned me and absolutely disrespected my dad. And I don't harp on that. That's just reality. Those are my feelings that they come up every time I think about this. I share all of this because sometimes that's the wake up call that we have to provide for someone else so that they can understand, yes, your pain sucks. Some days are going to be excruciating. And all you can do is try to get by minute, hour by hour to survive that day. And I get it. I 100% absolutely understand it. It may not be an identical circumstance, but I 100% understand that desire and having to fight so hard to just make it to the next minute or the next hour. That's not an easy feat. And anybody that I'm just going to say it. Anybody that wants to come out and be like, you know what, suicide's just copping out. Suicide's just, oh, I could never do that. I'm too strong. Excuse me? You're too what? You're ignorant, is what you are, if you want my honest opinion. Because as a veteran who's known veterans that have committed suicide, who's known Navy SEALs to commit suicide, oh, this isn't a strength game. It's not a strength game. Some people do not want the pain to continue. So much so that we will end it ourselves. It's not, it's not, it's not a coward's way out. It's not an easy choice. An easy choice. I heard somebody say that once, and it took everything I had not to come out of my skin and just snatch them. um, Look, people can argue a lot of different things. But just imagine, and I'm not advocating, so please understand. I'm just saying, if you want to sit there and talk about how easy it is to commit suicide, think about putting a gun to your head or to your chest. The reality of what's about to happen, that's not the easy way. That's not the weak man's choice. That is so much desperation and pain and hurt. That's what that is. And again, please understand, that's not me advocating. This is me telling you, whichever side you may be on, whether you understand it, you can't understand it, you think you're too good to understand it, you think you could never. If you want to be condescending and you want to look down on people that have considered it or attempted, excuse me, or have successfully done it, and I use successfully not as a positive thing, man, you need your own counseling and therapy, if you want my honest opinion, because the ignorance is strong if that's truly what you think. Um I, so this is my 22 veteran sweatshirt. 22 veteran lives a day on average is how many people commit suicide. Thought it was appropriate that I wore my hoodie when I did this, but that's too many. And it means that we're not doing our job. Somewhere along the line, we have failed. We have failed each other. We have failed the people that have volunteered to put their life on the line for our country, for when they come back from combat. There should always be, and I get it 100%, okay? It's like, when a cop kills someone in the line of duty, They have to go through mandated counseling. There is a step-by-step process that they have to go through, because one, processing the fact that you just took another human life should not just be something that you just kind of dust off, right? You took a human life, whether it was a him or me situation, whatever the case may be, does not matter. You took another human life. And ideally, that shouldn't just be a dusting off situation. There's going to be residue, right? You have to process it. You have to deal with it. So they have a process. You have to go through counseling. Now, I know that there's plenty of people that they do what they have to do, what they're required to do to be able to get back to the job. And I understand that. And in the military, we would be the same way, because a lot of us people that would fall into the veterans and first responders categories, a lot of us are type A personalities, and we can be stubborn as all get out, right? I ain't dealing with my feelings. I ain't talking about it. No, I'm fine, blah, blah, blah. I get it. 100%. I get it. I'm that person. I've been that person. Let me tell you, I've been forced into counseling. Wasn't happy about it. Absolutely did my darndest to not participate until I absolutely had to. But I can also tell you from experience that talking to someone, I'm not even saying you have to go to a counselor or a psychologist, psychotherapist. I'm not saying any of that. But someone, you have to be able to verbalize what you're feeling, because it doesn't go away. If you internalize it, all you're doing is you're more or less packing a bomb. And then the question is, when's it going to go off? And for me, it was when my dad died. And everything that I'd stuffed down, all the abuse, physical, rape, all of it, everything that I stuffed down and tried to ignore for all those years came full on to the surface. I mean, talk about my cup overflow. Not in a positive way, not in a thank you, Jesus, my cup overflows. No, no, no. This was oh crap, I now have to deal with all of my emotions because I can't make them go away. I didn't have the capacity at all. So I had to deal with it. And it was ugly. And it sucked. It's not fun, you guys. I get it 100%. I 100% absolutely understand it. But what I understand even more is how important it is for you to be here. For you to be here on this earth, because you are priceless. I don't care what anybody else tells you. That is a fact. I don't even have to know you, because what I know is God decided that we were worth coming to earth as a human and living a perfect life, only to die a sacrificial death for us. He didn't have any sin. He was perfect. He literally died for you and me. You are priceless. You are worth dying for. I don't have to meet you to know that. I don't even, I'll go as far to say, and some people may not agree, and that's absolutely fine. But my belief in my God is that even if you are, and this is going to make people mad, and I understand, even if you are Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't want to say some other names, but I have them in my head. God felt the same way about all of us. It doesn't matter how much of a sinner, how horrible you are, so you think, or reality. I just listed Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer. God still feels that way. So that's why I say I don't have to meet you to know that you are priceless. Nobody else in the world can be you except you. I would even say identical twins may look alike and their DNA is identical, but they're still not identical. There are differences. So no one can be you more or better than you. I put that or in there. So grammar, please don't come after me. I did not say more better. Absolutely not. I would no. So how do we move forward? Well, we reach out for help to a professional, to a friend, to church, a pastor, pray. There's options. And for somebody that's not good at asking for help, I had to go to God first. Had to. Because then I had somebody that I was talking to. I had somebody that I knew that was listening and I was getting it out. And he was also the person that I was a little bit ticked off for because he took my dad, in my opinion, at the time. I'm good now. But we had some yelling matches. Not we. I would stand in my living room and I would scream at God. I yelled at my dad too. I was pretty mad at him because I knew that had he actually gone to the doctor like he was supposed to, he probably could have lasted a little bit longer, but that's neither here nor there. But God and I did have some yelling matches. He can handle it. He's God. That's the other thing you guys need to understand. If you need somebody to vent to, he's got you. Telling you. Been there, done it. He didn't betray me. He didn't sit there and cast me into the fire. He didn't say, you will never be my child now. You've screamed at me. No. He let me get it out. And he still loves me. So that's where I had to start. And then once I was past the rage and the anger and the denial, all of it in the beginning of the grief, then I could go to church. And then I could open myself up to my Bible study group. And slowly, I allowed people in. And slowly, I got more and more help. You have to take it at your speed. Nobody can force you to move faster. There is no particular time on grieving. There's no particular time on pain. But to move forward, you have to be doing something to get better, right? So you have to pray, scream at God, talk to a friend, talk to a counselor, talk to a pastor, whatever works for you. But you have to. You have to. Because I cannot say it enough. You matter. You are not alone. I am not political, so I'm not going to keep doing this. You are not alone. People love you. And even if you feel like they don't, there's somebody out there that loves you. You may not care that they love you. That's the other thing people need to understand. Because I used to say that. I would be like, oh, nobody loves me. And then all these people would be like, oh, I love you. I love you. And I'm like, I don't care what you think. Ugh, that person doesn't love me. We're human. We care. We want it to be exactly our way. But the reality is, there is somebody. You may not be thrilled about it, but there is somebody. Step by step, you make an effort to get better. Step by step, you start to see just a small glimpse of a light at the end of the tunnel. And that small glimpse is just enough hope to get you to take another step. Survive another minute, another hour, another day. But I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you, please, please take the steps, ask for help. Do not make a permanent choice for a temporary problem. It may not feel temporary, and I get that. I did not, when my dad died, it did not feel temporary, and it's not. He's dead, right? And I get that. But the devastation, the shattered, broken feeling slowly dissipates. It's not quick. A lot of this is going to depend on you. I'm not saying stuff it down, but you got to work through it. Because if we don't work through it, we're not going to get over it. We're not going to get through it. And yeah, it sucks. I'll tell you that all day long. It sucks. I get it. I've been there. It sucks. But here's what I can tell you. For the longest time, I didn't see a purpose of me living. Absolutely none. I saw no purpose. I wanted to be gone. I wanted to be dead. I wanted to be with my dad. That was the way I looked at it. Did not see a purpose. Why am I here? I have no purpose. Nobody loves me. It does not matter. Nobody will miss me anyway, except for my dog, which was part of the reason that I actually didn't make any choices. I know that may sound crazy to some people, but I'm grateful that I had my Mastiff because she was a huge part of me actually still being here today. But you get to a point to where it's not that way anymore. It's not as bad as it was. I still have days that are awful where I miss my dad so much. I just want to call him. I just want to hear his voice. I want to hug. I just want to talk to him about whatever the heck I want to talk to him about. I get it. And I'll pray. God, I miss him so much. Will you please give my dad a big, massive bear hug? I don't know if he does or not. I like to believe that he does, and it makes me feel a little bit better because that means that my dad got a hug that I wanted to give him. Everybody's different. You have to take care of it for yourself, right? But we have to start asking for help. And we, as a society in this world, as the human race, we have got to start giving ourselves and others grace. Because we're not perfect and we're never going to be perfect. We have hard days. Nobody gets through everything easily or unscathed. And again, I will say, if they pretend that they do, or they say that they do, they're lying just to save face, or because they think it makes them sound big and bad, cool, strong. Look, I've openly told people I wanted to die, contemplated suicide very clearly. I offered someone $75,000 to end my life. And I say that because I want to be able to help somebody else understand. I understand where you're coming from. But I'm telling you that right now because I've also had people tell me I'm the strongest person they know. Well, if I'm one of the strongest people that you know, and I contemplated suicide, it's not a weak man's thing. So please keep that in mind. None of us are above having our insides absolutely gutted. And none of us know until it happens how we're going to react to it. I pray that you reach out and ask for help when you need it. I pray that you know that you are absolutely priceless and God truly believed that you were worth dying for. I truly believe that. And I pray that if nothing else, you hear me when I say you are not alone. You are not alone. I promise you. You may feel like you're alone. I felt like I was alone when I was going through it. But I wasn't. And really, in all honesty, I could have just reached out and asked for help. I'm not good at it. I know I've said that multiple times. I'm not good at it. But that's all I had to do. So please reach out for help if you need it. Please ask your friends how they're doing and genuinely want them to answer. Not like you're walking down the road and you see somebody and you're trying to be polite and say, "Hey, how are you today?" And they're like, "Yep." And you're like, "Whew, they didn't answer. Sweet." I want you to actually ask and care and want to hear the answer. Because that's the other thing. Some people just want to be heard or seen. Open the door for somebody. Oh my gosh, they saw me. I'm not invisible. Do you know how many people walk around thinking that they're invisible? Just make sure you see people. Be different. Try to share kindness, and it doesn't take much. You can literally just smile at somebody when they pass. You can open the door for somebody. I know that, some feminists are going to throw a fit. Why'd you open the door for me? Because somebody's being nice to you. Shut up and deal with it. Say thank you and go through the door, okay? It doesn't take much to be nice to somebody. Smile. Say hi. Open the door for somebody. Give them a compliment. I used to randomly find people just for the fun of it and walk up and figure out something I wanted to compliment them on just because some people never hear compliments. And I'm sure you've seen videos of people, going up to strangers on the side of the road. Hey, I just wanted to let you know you're beautiful. And you see their entire, like, you first talk to some stranger on the road and you get this look like, why are you talking to me? And then you're like, hey, I just wanted to let you know you look beautiful today. And you're like, thank you. Their entire face changes. Did you hurt anybody? Did you hurt yourself by telling them a compliment? No. It's okay to be nice. You could literally save a life simply by showing kindness or showing someone that they are not invisible. And I know that for a fact. I learned it at one of my jobs. We intentionally made authentic connections. And somebody posted on Facebook that ended up getting back to me talking about how this person simply asked how I was doing and listened to me when I answered the question. That person was me. And granted, part of it was my job, but I genuinely listened and they could tell. And it made a difference. It made such a difference. They literally said they were contemplating suicide. They were heard and not invisible. And that made the difference. You guys, it doesn't take much. So, whatever side you're on, either ask for help, pray, scream, yell, it does not matter, but ask for help in whatever way you feel comfortable and you need so that you can continue to move forward. If you're on the other side of it, just show some kindness. It is not that difficult. I understand this world is just not full of a lot of it. But if somebody smiles at you or waves, it's really not hard to smile back or wave. You may be confused, but you did it. And then that person doesn't feel invisible. And you didn't feel invisible because they just did it to you. I know. I have all these crazy ideas. I pray, I truly, truly pray that somebody got something out of this. I pray that this was not just me yapping for the last 49 minutes. It's a long one, you guys. I truly pray that somebody got something out of this. And I pray that you go and make a change and that you stay here because you matter and you are priceless. You cannot be replaced. Please remember that. Have a great evening, weekend, day, afternoon, whatever it is, whenever you're watching or listening to this, okay? More than anything, please, please know that you are freaking spectacular. Be blessed.